Hey y'all, for today's project, I'm going to be using some 8-inch slats from Dollar Tree that I nailed together on each end to make this square frame. And I have some paint sticks. These are 5-gallon paint stirrers that I got from Walmart. I trimmed them to fit the length that I needed, and they're going to be the background fence of my project. I'm also using this little jug decoration that I got from Dollar Tree back in the fall. Sometimes when I see a shape that I like, I just grab a few because I know I'm going to use it later. And I'm also going to be using some of these cardstock papers that I got on Amazon. They're called Honey Flower, and they just have a lot of different floral and bee designs. And I think they're going to be perfect for this project. I'm specifically looking at using these two, I think. Let's put it all together and see what happens. I'm going to start by arranging my paint sticks across the back evenly and use my staple gun to secure them. If you have shorter staples, you might want to add some hot glue too. Then I'm going to use this truffle chalk paint by Waverly to give the whole project a nice even coat. Once all the sides are covered and dry, I'm going to use some of this mineral chalk paint and also some of this classic caramel acrylic paint to dry brush on and give it some interest. And I'm just really wanting it to look more like weathered wood here. And I'm going to go ahead and do this to all the sides as well. And don't be afraid to get it a little bit thick because it's going to dry lighter than it looks when you put it on wet. Once that's dry, I'm going to take my mini sander and just rough it up a little bit, especially on the edges and corners. And it just kind of gives it that rustic barnwood look that I like. Next, I'm going to use some of this ink colored chalk paint by Waverly to give my little jug a good coat on all sides. And I want to make that nice chippy look, so I'm going to use some of this Elmer's school glue to apply first before I add the other coats. I'm going to brush that on nice and thick, and then while it's still wet, I'm going to apply some layers of the other colors. The mineral, I'm going to put that on first, kind of thick. Then I'm going to add some of the white chalk paint on top of that to accent it, and then add in a little bit of that classic caramel on top as well. Those layers take a little longer to dry, so while I'm waiting, I'm going to trace out my jug outline on this paper and just tear it away. And I really love how these papers are just the perfect size for these smaller projects. And I don't want to cover up too much of my jug, so I'm just trying to get just the right amount there. And then I traced a tag outline on this honeycomb paper, and so I'm making a little tag there. And I'm going to take a brown craft tag and I'm going to stamp on the word honey. And that stays on, and the stamps did come from Hobby Lobby. And with all of this, I'm just kind of working to add multiple layers in to give my project some interest. I'm going to tear away around that word that I made, and then I'm going to glue it onto the top of that honeycomb tag that I made. Once that's dry, I'm going to crumple it up to make it look a little tattered. Then I'm going to use some of this distress ink in black soot and go around the edges, in the corners, and over the top of the tag where I stamped the word. Now my jug is completely dry, so I'm going over it with my mini sander and with my paint scraper to make it look nice and chippy. So once I get it to the look that I like, I'm going to sponge on some of that classic caramel and also some cinnamon color to the little cork topper and around the edges of the jug. Then I'm going to use Mod Podge to apply to the back of that scrapbook paper and place it on the center of the jug. Then I'm going to use more of that black soot distress ink to go around the edges of my scrapbook paper, and I'm also going to rub around the edges of the jug. And then it's ready for a layer of Mod Podge to seal it all in. I only need a really small bow for the top of my jug, so I'm going to use my mini bow dabber for this. I'm just folding the layers over, and then I'm going to cinch them up really tight in the middle with this piece of twine. And for this one, I'm tying my knot on the top side and leaving those strings long because I am going to use them. I'm going to string my little honey tag on one and wrap it around the back side. And then I also have this little spoon that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to distress that a little bit, and then I'm going to use the other end of twine to just wrap it around that a few times. And then I'm going to use some hot glue to attach that string to the spoon and then the spoon to the bow. And now that the front side is done, I can flip it over, glue the tag to the back, and then also glue my bow down to the top of the jug. And here's how the little jug turned out. I think it's super cute. And before I glue it into the frame, I'm going to take some of that cinnamon paint and sponge it around the edges and in the corners. Then I'm going to take some of the E6000 for that heavy bond and some hot glue for that quick bond and glue the piece right in the center on the bottom of that frame. And next I'm going to add a little of this moss in around the bottom of my jug and secure it with some hot glue. Then I have this floral pick that I got from Walmart and these little white flowers that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to just use little pieces of them to glue in and add a little pop of color. I added the same pieces to both sides and I love how the yellow stands out. Now I'm ready to make my big bow, so I'm going to use my regular size bow dabber, put in my twine. I have some of this golden yellow burlap that I'm going to fold and put in here like a little bow tie. Then some black polka dot burlap that I'm going to put in and fold over like a little shoestring bow. I have some muslin that I'm going to add in as well. And then some of this honeycomb printed ribbon. I think I got it from Dollar Tree a while back. Just going to fold that over a few times since it is small. It's a little tricky because I'm trying to twist it because it's only printed on one side. Then another piece of muslin. And then I'm going to finish that top piece off with some black and tan checked ribbon. And I'm just folding the ends over on that one as well to make the little loops. Now I'm ready to pull up all my layers and cinch it up with my string. Then I can separate those strings, flip it over, and tie it in the back. I'm going to cut those ends because I don't need them, and then I'm going to flip it over and fluff it up. You can kind of arrange your loops here, resize them if you need to, and trim any ends. And I'll arrange it more on my project, but here's what it looks like. I'm going to use some hot glue to attach it, and then I'm also going to use my staple gun to make sure that it stays really secure. I'm also going to take a few small pieces from those floral picks that I used in the bottom and arrange them on my bow so that I can bring that element up to the top as well. I really like to have things balanced. And I'm just using some of the little leaves and greenery pieces to fill in some empty spaces. And lastly, I'm going to staple on some wire for a hanger, making a little curly Q there and just getting it stapled on the back and wrapped around. I really love how rustic this turned out, but also so bright with those pops of yellow. Thanks so much for watching my video. These sweet little yellow flowers are making me so anxious for spring. I hope it inspires you to get a little crafty and have a blessed day.